This is Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details. Here are your hosts, Joe, Matt, and Chris.
Bears fans, rejoice. You got yourself a head coach, and it's an interdivision hire. Ben Johnson, Lions OC, just coming off that disappointing divisional round loss that they had against Washington Commanders, has become the Bears head coach, and he instantly steps into an offense that has tons of talent that underwhelmed. They have a good offensive line. 4 of their 5 offensive linemen graded in the top 50 per PFF. The only one that wasn't there was their center. They have solid running back options with DeAndre Swift there. Quarterback Caleb Williams is entering his second year, and Ben Johnson has a knack for getting his quarterbacks on the move, which we saw Caleb Williams do exceptionally well in college. The bootleg is a big thing. The screen game is a big thing, and having multiple layers of the offense, which we have seen countless times in Detroit as Ben Johnson's been the OC. But where did Ben Johnson come from? Now, Ben Johnson has been coaching at some level since 2009 when he started at Boston College as a collegiate assistant, moving to tight ends coach in 2011. Then he was with the Miami Dolphins in 2012 as an offensive assistant, moving to assistant quarterbacks coach for 2013 through 2015, tight ends coach in 2015, assistant wide receivers coach in 2016. By 2017, he was a wide receivers coach. And by 2019, he was offensive quality control coach for the Detroit Lions, eventually taking over tight ends coach and moving to passing game coordinator before finally becoming the offensive coordinator in 2022. The man is a bona fide coach, has been coaching for 16 years, proven track record. Everybody likes this guy, and he has the ability to get the best out of his players. We have seen him elevate Jared Goff into what was a top 5 quarterback season this year in yards and touchdowns, as well as produced the first offense to have 4 players, 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs go over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Each of them did that. So if you had concerns about what kind of offensive scheme Ben Johnson was going to run in Chicago, guess what? It's a winning one, baby. That's what's happening in Chicago. But Matt, is this going to work out? I mean, we've seen this happen before. We've seen offensive coordinators have very good schemes, and Josh McDaniels specifically go to teams and flounder as a head coach. And it's kind of interesting, obviously a lot of people attribute Josh McDaniels' success as an offensive coordinator to Tom Brady. But Ben Johnson's done it with, Jared Goff, who was essentially written off in LA by the Rams. So, do you think that he's got a chance to really produce as a head coach in Chicago?
You're damn right I do, Joe. This is going to be an amazing fit here in Chicago. Caleb Williams is back, baby. Caleb Williams is back. If he didn't, I don't think he ever left. He's only had 1 year in the league, and, he's obviously one of the most talented quarterbacks we've ever seen come out of the draft. But Caleb Williams is back. Listen, Ben Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who watched the Lions game like I did last week and they lost to the Commanders, we'll talk about that at a later date and time. He got a little bit too cute with some of his play calls. The Jameson Williams pass was definitely a little bit too much. But if you watch that entire game, this guy knows what the hell he's doing. This is the most creative play caller in the NFL. There's not going to be nothing is going to be stale. Nothing is going to be mundane. It's going to be creative. You're going to get some sort of unique offense coming from Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams himself brings unique offense with his style of play. So these two combined, again, Caleb Williams is 22, 23 years old. Ben Johnson's less than 40 years old. So these two are both young, and they're going to be able to grow together. And I think this is going to be an amazing fit. So Caleb Williams, obviously his rookie year goes from Shane Waldron, who even Seattle Seahawks fans, because Shane Waldron was the OC last year for the Bears, but was the OC the year before for the Seahawks. And Seahawks fans, all of last year, I didn't listen to it. I probably should have. We're talking about, man, Shane Waldron is not good. Shane Waldron, his play calling is just not there. He is just not a great offensive coordinator. I didn't listen to it. I still thought the Bears would make the playoffs this year. And it turns out they were right. Shane Waldron was terrible. And he led to part of Caleb Williams' demise in his first year. And now going from Shane Waldron to Ben Johnson, who, like I said, might literally be the best play caller and the most creative play caller in the NFL, is nuts. It's the biggest, most drastic change that anybody could have. So arguably, like I said, Ben Johnson, one of the best in the league. And again, he is going to be with one of the league's most talented quarterbacks. That's going to be amazing. However, for the Bears, as far as their success goes next year, division's obviously great. They were literally the best division record-wise in NFL history this last year. However, none of them won playoff games. But still, the best division record-wise in NFL history this year. So it's going to be a tough division to compete with. Like you mentioned, Joe, the weapons are really good. You're still going to have DJ Moore. You're still going to have Rome Odunze. You might not have Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's probably going to leave in free agency. But again, you still have DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet. There's a lot of things to work with on this offense. Now, I think you mentioned the offensive line was solid. I think Bears fans would disagree with that. I think Bears fans are not happy with their offensive line, and I think that's something they're going to be looking to improve. And I think with the 10th overall pick, that's either got to be Will Campbell out of LSU or Kelvin Banks out of Texas. It's got to be one of those either offensive tackles or offensive guards early in the draft. I think that's where they're going to go. And then they have $80 million in cap space as well. And there's a lot of good offensive linemen available in free agency this year. Tackles, you got Ronnie Stanley from Baltimore. You got Cam Robinson from Jacksonville. Guards, you got Trey Smith, who's one of the best guards in the league for Kansas City. Zach Martin, also very good. We've seen how good Mekhi Becton's been for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's a guard. That's a free agent as well. And then for centers, you got Ryan Kelly as well, who's been a really nice center for the Colts for a while. So again, if you get one of those guys plus a lineman with that 10th overall pick, I think that's a huge improvement for your offensive line. And as well, again, this might be, I saw a picture of these guys together on social media today, and this I would like this fit as well. Maybe a running back. You could use a running back improvement in the draft as well. And maybe Ashton Genty at 10 for the Chicago Bears, then a lineman in the second round. You sign Trey Smith. You know, there's a bunch of different things that a bunch of different directions that these guys could go. And Caleb Williams, he's going to have a hell of a season. Here's a kind of a random take. I think Caleb Williams is going to be part of the one of the greatest draft classes of quarterbacks ever as far as the 2024 class, because I think the top 4 quarterbacks in this class, we're going to talk about it later, but Drake May's set up for much more success. Obviously, we see Jaden Daniels is probably already one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football. Caleb Williams has that type of talent to be one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football. I'm a big Michael Penix guy. I think he can easily be a top 10 quarterback. We see how good Bo Nix has been. Obviously, you kind of have the unknowns like Joe Milton and Spencer Rattler and JJ McCarthy as well, coming off of his injury. But there's a lot of really, really good quarterbacks coming from this draft class, and Caleb Williams right now is set up to have a whole hell of a lot of success. So I thought this year was going to be a great year for them, and I think they're going to be next year what I thought they would be this year. This is going to be a dangerous team next year without a doubt. And my question is, are they next year's Commanders? Are they going to pull a Washington Commanders and just take a giant leap and potentially make a run in the playoffs next year? Obviously, you got to get there first, but are they going to make a giant leap, get to the playoffs, and potentially make a run? Because with someone like Caleb Williams, with his talent level, pairing him with Ben Johnson, I think it's going to be a deadly offensive combo for the Chicago Bears for years to come.
Yeah, and they have the 5th most cap space in the NFL coming into 2025 with 69. I think I see 69 for their top 51 cap space. So, I mean, they have a lot of cap space right now. Lots of cap space. They have a top 10 draft pick. They can do whatever they want with it. And let's be fair, the Bears, from a GM perspective, have been dominating recently with some of the magic that they've been able to produce, some of the draft picks they've been able to get. They have a lot of cornerstones at a lot of positions that they are not paying very much money, and they're doing very, very good things, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I feel this defense is sort of better than it performed this year. I think they are a very good defense. Like you said, most of their things seem to be like getting the offense right and things. But I think, we're forgetting one major thing about Ben Johnson here. And it's not about how creative his play calling is. It's how creative he can get out of a single personnel set. That sets you up for no huddle situations. He is one of the few play callers who can run multiple plays, and I mean multiple plays from a single personnel set that never has to come off the field. So that means you can get your best players out there, run no huddle, and just score tons of points. We've watched him do it in Detroit. And I think that you're right. I think the Chicago Bears have a legitimate shot with some of the regression we may see from some of these other teams because Ben Johnson's not in Detroit anymore. How does that offense look? We don't know. The Packers, they were the 3rd best team in this division. Could they possibly be the 4th best team now that, there's competency, or at least the idea of competency on the Bears sideline? The Minnesota Vikings looked great until they were down the stretch, and we kind of saw Sam Darnold kind of regress back to that Sam Darnold we're used to seeing the final 2 games of the season. So we kind of have these things right now where, maybe the NFC North, as good as it was, isn't as solidified as it may have been with some of the changes that are coming, because we don't know who's quarterbacking the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold's a free agent. We don't know how, Jared Goff regresses with the new OC coming in and how Detroit looks, because Detroit's probably losing their DC as well. All right. Yeah. Granted, Dan Campbell's got a hell of a culture, but you don't know what that's going to look like. And then the Packers are the Packers. I mean, they kind of feel that way. They have a decent defense. They got a really good running back. And if their wide receivers can stay on the field, they got a decent wide receiver core. But at the end of the day, you're not really scared of the Packers. You know what I mean? And granted, the Bears have some skeletons and, some demons that haunt them when it comes to going up to Lambeau or facing some of these teams. They finally beat them this year. But those are the kind of things the Packers have, that the Bears have to focus on. And Bears fans, I think you have a legitimate shot at possibly, a wild card's in the conversation for sure.
For sure.
NFC North may absolutely be on the table for you guys if this goes the way that Matt and I think this is going. You guys could be in the conversation. Hell, I'm going to say it. You are in the conversation for 2025 NFC North division title. You just got to draft right and get some free agents, baby. And I think you guys can 100% do it with the cap space you got. Time to nut up or shut up.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.